These pens are dirt cheap. Hi everybody, today I'm going to be taking a look at the Pen+Gear fine point markers that are available at Walmart. Now if you watched my Thunderdome for my colorful fine liners that was last week and I did the live stream and the roundup, then you'll know how these pens did versus the other pens, but I hadn't done a video on these by the time I picked them up, and I thought I should do a standalone video just talking about them on their own, not compared to any other markers, especially considering that these pens are by far some of the cheapest fine liners I've ever bought. These cost $3.95 or $3.98, something along those lines, when you buy them at good old Walmart. Not somewhere I shop on the regular, but somebody asked me about these and I went and I found them, and sure enough, for 20 markers, $3.95 or whatever. So let's take a look. So there are 20 colors available. There's not very many claims at all associated with these markers on the Walmart website. It just says that they are 0.8 millimeter fine tip with metal clip, water-based ink, perfect for multi-use. Doesn't say anything about how fast they dry, doesn't say anything about anything like that. There's no color names, there's no color numbers, so we're just going to be going on these based on that. Now the pen has kind of an octagonal or whatever, 6-sided, so I don't think that's an octagon, that's 8-sided. I don't fucking remember. Whatever that shape is, 6-sided shape. Similar in ways to the Stabilo, but the pen lid is super ridged, like ribbed for her pleasure. Now this feels similar to a Stabilo in my hand, except that the ridges on the pen, the actual like corners on each of the sides, are a lot sharper and it digs into my callus, so I do not like how this feels in my hand. The like I said, the lid is very ridged, which I think keeps it from rolling too much. It sort of stops it. You can see it as I'm pushing it. It just stops it, which is cool. The cap snaps on, but it feels kind of flimsy on there. And then if you put it on the end, the actual end here and the inside of the lid are not that 6-sided shape. They are round. So you don't have to pay attention to which way you're putting it on. But I will say that these lids do not stay on very well. They kind of, again, feel sort of flimsy. Now the tip of the pen is similar in a lot of ways to different fine liners. It's got the metal and then got like the fine tip sticking off the edge of it. So let's write. So it feels a little bit scratchy, but like it's scratchy, but there's a little bit of smoothness to it. One of the things I've learned about these pens is if you press down hard, you're gonna bend the nib. Zoom in so you can see that this nib is pointing in a different direction. So these are a struggle for me with a heavy hand. On regular copy paper, they shadow a whole bunch. On Erin Condren paper, they barely shadow at all. So they don't really bleed all that much. As for dry time, dry right away, which is really nice. And I'm going to pull in the information from the video I did last week. I don't always have this when I review pens because my kid's not always with me. I share custody, but my daughter, who's a left-handed writer, she did test this, and this pen was safe for lefties. I mean, as you can see, when you smear it, like it doesn't smear at all. And I have like oily hands because it's hot as balls in here. So that's good to know. These pens do dry very quickly, but I would say the biggest downfall to them from the writing is the fact that that nib it bends right the fuck over. So I'm going to do a swatch test right now so you can see all of the different colors. Like I said, there's no color names, so we're just going to have to do our best. I want to stop for a second. See this crustiness that's happening here with this yellow? This yellow is completely dried out and it's like flaking off into my bullet journal. I'll talk about this more in a second, but I wanted to point that out. All right, looking at these colors, I have some thoughts. We'll talk about that yellow in just a second. So there are a couple of pens on here. For the most part, they seem to be relatively close to their cap colors, which is important because there's no color names and no color numbers. This pen that goes with this color right here and this pink that goes with this color, neither of those match their lids at all. Like they're not, I feel like they're barely even close. And that's irritating as shit, especially considering that there's no names or numbers. And then this blue puppy here, you can see all the fuckery with this line. That's because this is one of the ones that bent on me when I was trying to write with it. And it didn't spring back, which is really fucking annoying. So it's something to be aware of. And then, of course, I showed you the yellow one that did not write at all and was flaking off. Now I have yellow on my desk. I have yellow on my fingers, but not very much yellow on the paper. So I guess looking at those two that don't match and the one that's all janky looking, the blue and then that yellow, ultimately, I think the answer is that you get what you pay for. For the most part, these colors are fairly vibrant, not counting the yellow, but they're fairly vibrant. They write relatively decently if you're not going to push down too hard. If you are, I stay away from these. Overall, these are not bad, except for that bad one. Like, they're not terrible, but they are most definitely cheap. Like, they feel cheap too. They're super light, so I have no idea how long these puppies are going to last for. They feel very light. They feel very cheap. They're not super comfortable to write with, and the tips bend very easily. But if you are in the market for really, really cheap fine liners, then these might be a decent option. You're just going to be running the risk of having some of them be dried out or whatever, so be prepared for that. They're also not super available. They're only available at Walmart. So if you don't have a Walmart nearby, you don't want to order them online, or you don't like to shop at Walmart, there is that. Now, if you were looking for cheap fine liners that are also inconsistent, but I at least didn't have any problems with dryness, the Arteza ones are also cheap. They're also inconsistent, but there's more colors and you can order those on Amazon. So just as a heads up. Overall, though, I'm not going to recommend these for purchase unless you really only want to spend $4 on fine liners. I have the feeling that these aren't going to last very long, and even if they did, like, just this performance, having one be dried out like this right away, it's not even worth my time to go to Walmart and try and exchange them. The amount of time I will spend in line at Walmart is not worth this yellow. They're not really something for me to recommend unless price is a factor. Because I'm a little bummed out that these cheap pens did turn out to be as cheap as they cost, I'd love for you to let me know in the comments. Are there things out there, pens or otherwise, that you can go and buy that you love that are super inexpensive, but it doesn't feel like you're getting what you pay for? It feels like you're getting something way better than what you paid for. Does that make sense? Like, are there cheapnesses out there that actually perform really, really well, whether it's pens or something else? Give me a recommendation in the comments, because this super bums me out. Anyway, on that crappy note, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.